All right, guys, let's get started here. Um, so I'm gonna make sure everything's running right. Okay, cool. If you guys have chart suggestions, just throw them in the chat, and we will be going, or I can go over those as well. Let's see here. Okay. First, we're just gonna start off with the indexes. Something real quick. Okay, so let's get started here. So, just taking a look at the overall indexes, right? So first things first, we broke this high from that we put in on Monday earlier this or Monday this past week. We broke that high and have closed above it. So that's kind of signaling we'll probably see a continuation. Now this looks like a prime spot for a retest. So I wouldn't be surprised if the market came down and pulled back a little bit and retested that and went to go test that high again. But at the same time, we've just been ripping. And so for us to just continue would not be surprising whatsoever. So if we continue just off of this, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. And maybe something similar to here. Now, the consolidation here, if we're just looking at um, the consolidations overall and kind of what the charts have been doing, you can see here we're having pretty much ends up being the same thing every time. So if you notice, we have a consolidation and then a move. Well, here we can start over here if you want, or even here. Consolidation, then we have a move, consolidation, move, consolidation, move, consolidation, move. And then this was just a little bit of a consolidation mess, really. But then this, you could call this whole thing right here just a consolidation, right? So we consolidated, then we had our move, and then we had a retracement, consolidation, move. I mean, it's not going to look perfect every time you look at it, but you can kind of see the basis of the price action in its simplest form um, of just a continued pattern of consolidation, move, consolidation, move, consolidation, move, consolidation. So we may pull back into this, but at the same time, we want to go look at like the same charts here. We go to the daily time frame. You can see here the squeeze is still moving, um, still firing off from that daily time frame. Weekly squeeze is still going, right? Weekly squeeze is still going. And I just don't think that much of the gas is going to be let up until we reach 5,000 on Q or ES. And I've been saying this for quite some time, but I really don't think that we're going to see too much of a pullback at this point because we're 30 points away. We've been saying that since down here. Once we got this initial breakout here, it was kind of obvious that we were probably going to have that move, especially when NQ, or sorry, SPY. I'm gonna go to this chart here. We go to SPY. You can see once we broke that high, it was kind of just off to the races, and the next spot was 500. And you can kind of see that's pretty much played out. I mean, we are about $4, so we're not far from, or $5, $6 from hitting that target. So I'm kind of looking for that continuation. Now, if we go to lower time frames, we can see here, it's kind of been just a steady uptrend. And basically, we've just been kind of creating. We had consolidation, had a downtrend for a minute, and then broke back above with this double bottom here. You can see here, there's one, there's the low, higher low, and this is the ABC pattern that we've been talking about a lot in the past. There was that break, broke the 50 EMA, and then from there, just trended up, pull back right to that 50 EMA, and then ripped up again. So that's that. We're just in an uptrend at this point, right? So I wouldn't consider shorts until we get back below that 50 EMA. Maybe if we have a lower time frame squeeze. But right now, it seems like NQ is off to the races to 18,000, and then ES is off to the races to 5,000. So that's basically what I'm going to be looking for. And it's not a huge move. Let's take a quick look. I'm gonna look at my own screen and let you guys know. So I'm looking up the events for this week, which will be posted in the chat here shortly. But let's see here. We've got some speakers, Fed speakers throughout the day on Tuesday, Monday. Monday, nothing really crazy. Wednesday, we've got Fed speakers. Thursday, we have initial jobless claims at 8:30, and then some news at 10 a.m. And then CPI seasonal factor revisions on Friday. I don't know too much about that, but then another Fed speaker on Friday. So it looks like, honestly, we're going to be having a lot of Fed speakers coming out, and so that should make it a little more interesting. So let's see. Then from there, that shouldn't affect us too much. Maybe the markets. Okay, so now as in stocks, some that I'm interested in this week are D-Dog. So this one, just kind of a clean chart, right? It doesn't have a squeeze, unfortunately, anything like that. It might have a 4-hour. Oh, it just entered into a squeeze on the daily. Okay. So I do like, if we break this high, we could have a pretty quick move up into, let's see where we're at here. We've got this gap to fill here. So I think, I mean, it's not going to go in a straight line, obviously, but by the looks of it, you've got 150 right up here as well. The way this has been trading and how strong it has been, we had this gap up on earnings and then just continue to run. I wouldn't be surprised to see that continuation. And we have earnings on Tuesday, not this week, but next. So if we break this high, I'm pretty interested in getting in calls for a continuation to the upside. Pretty clean and simple chart there. Another one, there's a few sectors that I'm watching. If you look at the squeeze, XLI, you can see here, we have a squeeze firing off on the daily. And it just had a clean setup going into this week. You could see the momentum was continuing to shift. And as it shifted, we got a nice move up. And so I'm expecting this one to continue to break out. As you can see, we had been in a range since 2021, May of 2021. So this could have the potential for a pretty big breakout. I would imagine this is a monthly time frame. Yep. So this is a monthly time frame breakout. So names that I'd be looking to play are cat. So if we look at cat, you can see here had a really nice day on Friday. And I would just want to play along with this strength. Now it has earnings, so that might screw up the entry for coming into this week. But I do want to keep an eye on the industrials as a whole, because it looks like obviously XLI is starting to break out, and maybe we can get a retest for an entry here. But you can see it's having a clear breakout, and I'm just basically looking for a continuation. Now, an obvious spot that we might go and head to is that 120 mark. So I'm watching that, keeping a close eye on that. And then from there, if we look at XLF, similar story here. We just have had crazy strength. So really what I'm looking for is the strength to just continue, right? This sector as a whole has been running ever since they've put out their earnings. It really is a result of a weekly squeeze. And you can see here, we have this consolidation that, I mean, you can mark the high there, mark the low there. And we've had this consolidation that we've been in for months and since back in May of 2022. So a very long time as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we went ahead and to test the most recent highs, which is only $2 or $3 away, but is a significant move for XLF. So if we look at this from perspective of the squeeze, right, we can see that on XLF, you can see here that weekly squeeze fired off kind of weird, just like the SPY did. So it ended up firing off weird. But if you look at the monthly time frame, it looks like this thing's about to send for a long time. I may look to add this to a longer term portfolio and just trade the shares and hold the shares for the breakout. I did put out Goldman Sachs a long time ago. I don't even know when, but we bought it around 320, right below the 21 EMA, and we've kind of been holding that, and that's just a long term hold for me. But as for a more relevant time right now to day trade it into this week, we can look at you can see we've got squeezes on many time frames, right? And we've got the monthly squeeze about ready to fire off. Weekly squeeze has already been going, but the daily is kind of the one that I'm more so interested in. You can see here, clean chart, where it's kind of a slingshot, losing momentum. Now, these orange dot squeeze plays can get a little tricky, so I do want to be aware of that. But I do know that this is a strong looking pattern and could probably have a continuation, especially when we can claim this level here. Once we get above this, it's kind of off to the races, right? Once we break that level. So this is kind of one of my top watch list plays. And I'm going to keep an eye on this one for sure. So I would definitely add this to your watch list. It's got a 4-hour squeeze, daily squeeze. And this thing looks prime and ready to go. So I do like this one to the upside for sure. Once we break that high. Another one that I'm watching within the bank sector is JPM. Now, if we look at this one from squeeze perspective again, you can see here, got a nice squeeze. It's already started to kind of build up its momentum. Now, if we look at just, wow, we're at all-time highs. Yep, we are at all-time highs for JPM. So this one, if you're looking for like a continuation, I personally would look for a move back above here. So I like that above there. And then once we really get going, we could see it above. We're holding support here. You can see we bounced here. So this one looks really good for continuation and eventually reach that 180. So break there. It's kind of trail your stops because we're at all-time highs, so it makes it a little more difficult. That's why I may lean towards Goldman Sachs, just because if we break here, we could see a move up to, well, next we've got that psych level of 400. So if we break there, that's a longer time frame break, and we're kind of creating a bull flag here. So we break here, 400 is probably up next. And then from there, we've got like some resistance levels here, like you can see here at 420, right around 420, and then 412. But I think once we break this, we're kind of off to the races. So I do like this, and I like the idea that if we break this, we're probably going to have a very nice move to the upside. So let's go ahead and add an alert to that chart. So once we break that, we'll get an alert, and then we'll look for that move to 400. So that's that. Let's see what else we got. And then, I mean, as for watch list, as the watch list goes, those are kind of the two main things that I'm paying attention to. So it's bank stocks, and then from there we're looking at industrials. And if you're going to be trading the industrials, we can look at a few different names. Like, well, do I really want to be trading Honeywell, or would I rather be trading Cat? Oop. I mean, seems pretty obvious to me. The strength is clearly there. So a breakout on this one seems pretty obvious, and it's at all-time highs. It's continued to move higher. So I really like this name for just a continuation, and looks like a great one to play the upside if you're going to play industrials. As for other industrial sectors, we can look at them, but I don't think much of them look as good as the those two that I named. This one, XLK, looks good, but we got to get back above that high. The only thing is, I mean, if you really wanted to trade it, you could trade it above this high here. But the only thing is that I don't know. It seems we're getting a bit of sector rotation. One other one that I do want to pay attention to, and I don't really think we need to go through all the sectors, but one to pay attention to here is XLV. So this is the healthcare sector. Now this one could be on the verge of a huge breakout here. So really what I would do is I'd look for a break of this high here. So I'm going to go ahead, put an alert there, because once we break that, I think that's going to be a pretty huge breakout for this sector. Reason being is because you can see here, we can look from this perspective. You can see here, daily time frames got to squeeze, okay? That can also trigger the well, the weekly's already fired. So kind of that daily squeeze is nested within a weekly squeeze that's already fired, right? And then from there, we've got a monthly squeeze. And then really we're at this resistance level here. So right around, I guess it's between where we closed at on Friday and that 141.75. So I do think this is another sector to watch. There's some names in here that I don't really trade the sector too much. So I'd probably just trade the sector overall. Like, I don't think I'd want to trade J&J. It looks pretty bad. But in terms of sectors that you kind of want to pay attention to, maybe we can find a sector leader. And also post the any stocks you want me to look at while we're here, and I'll get to those once I'm kind of finished going through this. And I'll see if I can give you a couple good names for the healthcare sector. So UNH is one. This one doesn't look good either. So what is making this sector break out is the real question. Okay. Eli Lilly. Okay, so this is the one you kind of want to pay attention to. So I think this one is probably a good one to pay attention to, and something we can look for. Yeah, you're right. Eli Lilly does have earnings this week. Okay, so maybe if we could find an entry after Friday, not Friday. If we can find an entry after this earnings report, that'd probably be a good looking one to trade. But we may have to deal with the post earnings move that may mess up that trade. MRK, this one looks great. I would imagine, yep, we're at all-time highs. This one seems to be breaking out. We don't have earnings for quite some time, so we can definitely look for this one to break out. But we may just end up playing the sector instead of trying to figure out a stock to play. If anything, now that I'm looking at it, I'd probably go with this one just because of the strength it has behind it. So the beta, no. I just play the sector. I'm thinking maybe this, but more than likely a sector. So the ones that I'm kind of watching into this week are Cat. Once earnings comes out, after we get that earnings report, Cat, D-Dog. Once we get that breakout, and then what was that last one? Where are my notes? Man, I can't forget I forgot the last one I was going over. Goldman Sachs. Here we go. Yeah, my favorite one. Okay, so this is the main one I'm going to be watching into this week. Okay, so keep an eye on. So, like for your notes, you can use as XLV, which is the healthcare sector, XLI, which is industrials, and then the bank stocks, in particular Goldman Sachs and JPM. So JPM also looks really good as well. So we get a break back above that high. We should be off to the races again. And I mean, I don't think $200 is too far off into the future for this name, especially with it breaking new highs. The next resistance level, I mean, it's going to be 180, then it's going to be 190, and it's going to be 200. But I think once we break that 178, 180 area, it'll probably be a quick move right to that 190. Okay, so I'll go over the stocks you guys are looking at. NIO, are you looking to short this one? If anything, I would definitely be looking to short this. Yeah, I would definitely be like, if anything, I would be looking to short this name. Probably just a break of that low, and that'd be a pretty easy move to the downside. Looks like it's probably going to head to $5 here pretty quickly, which would be about almost 10% move. So I think this one looks great for downside and just a continuation. So yeah, I would not play this one long. Let's see. Okay, Apple. Apple, this one is very choppy. So for Apple, I don't think it knows what it wants to do. So like if we look at this from a longer term perspective, we're just in a trading range. So notice this high right here that we made right here. And then notice this low we made right here. And then this high we made right here. We're pretty much, and this high ended up being, is basically the dead middle of this range, right? So like between this high here that we put in and this low that we put in right here, this old high from 2021 is like the dead center, right? So we're just basically in a trading range. So the first things I would look for are if we break, so I guess scenario wise, I would look for a break of Friday's low. And then from there, I'd be looking between this range here. So I'd be looking for a break above this high or a break of this low. And then from there, you can probably see a move back to somewhere around the bottom of this range, right around this area. So probably right around here, 170. Or if we break here, I would expect us to go touch 200 at this point. We've had a couple failed attempts to reach 200. And then I think if we break here, um, early entry, a break of this level here, and to see if we can get to 200 and then a break further, or a break from here and see if we can wait for that break of this level here and then see if we can continue to go from there. So that's kind of the two scenarios I would go with. Um, and then from there, let's see. That's Apple. So really look for below here for puts, early entry, calls above here, safer entry above this high here. Okay. App, we just did Apple, Uber. Oh, sorry. Do you think it had is bullish enough to touch 200? Right now, I don't know. So thought process being you could see this double bottom here. I think everyone sees that, where we made this low, put in a double bottom, had a nice push up. Now the real question is, okay, if we had earnings, right, and then we gapped down and then got bought right back up. So one, we took out the stops that were below here. We had a bunch of stops below this low, this double bottom, which a bunch of people took out their stops, and then we got bought right back up. And then two, we had earnings, we gapped down, and then we got bought back up, which both of those two things are kind of leading me to believe that we may see a continuation for the next few candles. But then that's as far as I can tell you. So whether that steam is going to run into up into a break of 200, I don't know. So really what I'm thinking is we'll probably move up into this upper part of the range and then we can go from there. So really it's kind of in a no trade zone and you're just looking for a break of here or a break of here. And if you want to be safe, look for a break of here. And then from there, there's no direction. And I think that's a great question of saying, do you think we're bullish enough to break 200? Because if you're thinking that, then you got to ask, okay, are we trading in a trend or are we trading in chop? Now, if we were like this and then had this price action and then a break here, I would be like, yeah, we're probably going to break 200 or we're probably going to 200. So, yeah. But right now we're in a range. Uber, this one looks good. I like this one for continuation. So, wow. This is at all-time highs. Yeah, so for this one, I think just look for a continuation. I don't see anything else, any other way to look at it, right? We broke Friday's high, so I'd probably want to see this can just continue the momentum and continue the upside pressure. So I like that one. And then I wouldn't look to short it at all. This I have no opinion on this one. And I don't know what opinion. It just gets worse as I zoom out. You can see how choppy it is, right? Like there's no direction at all. We need to see some direction. And we haven't had direction since 2005. So I just wouldn't touch this one. If anything, if you sell premium, you could just sell a massive iron condor between here and here. If you know what that is. Basically betting that it's going to stay between this range and not go anywhere else for another at least year or so. It just doesn't have any direction, so I wouldn't touch it. All right, guys. You guys got any other for me, or is that all? I got a couple more minutes here. No problem. Happy to help. Yeah, I just wouldn't touch this one, especially like first warning sign is the gaps. Second warning sign is it hasn't gone anywhere in a really long time. But all right, guys. Well, if you guys have any other questions, DM me in the chat. Let me know if you have other questions. And thank you guys for coming. And I will see you guys for the markets tomorrow.